10-minute film of Henry VIII's apartments. All you need to do is go across this courtyard here.
Warder Ian Franklin has worked here for 18 months, and on his desk is a rather unusual postcard.
Well, it's a fabrication. There's a whole series of these that date back to the sort of Edwardian, early Georgian period. And basically what they did was they went round the palace taking photographs like the Great Hall and the Horn Room and whatever, and superimposing these very sad paper cutouts on top of them. And the ghosts that appear, for instance Catherine Howard here, is never known to haunt the Great Hall at all. So that's if you believe in the ghosts. It's quite a funny thing. It's there for the children really, because one of the first questions we get asked on a quiet day is, where are the ghosts?
Hampton Court is said to be one of the most haunted palaces in the country. Ian is fascinated by the ghostly stories, and as an amateur historian, he's decided to record them. But first he needs to make people aware of his project.
Well, I'm actually going around the palace putting up little adverts really for the Ghost Project to try and get people actually interested in it and to try and get more reminiscences from people who work at the palace at the moment. A lot of people are being quite responsive, but obviously a lot of people don't want their name attached to it. I think there's still a social stigma against things.
So will anyone brave that stigma and admit they've seen a ghost in the palace? Warder Ian is hard at work collating his ghost stories.
I've always been interested in the supernatural, but I am a bit of a sceptic.
His research has led him to hear many ghostly accounts from Hampton Court, which he's now busy assembling to present to his local historical society.
All these stories are now floating around. Some are very old, some are quite modern. In a couple of 100 years' time, the modern stories may still be going around, but they'll have been elaborated on. And I hope I'm doing historians in the future a favour by actually taking these down either at first hand or second hand or whenever I can.
Ian has had an intriguing response to his request for information. There have been strange occurrences behind this door, and recent occupants have agreed to reveal their experiences. Hunter Ian has had a breakthrough. A resident of the palace has agreed to recount his ghostly experiences. It's none other than ex-police officer and head of operations Dennis McGuinness, taking a break from his daily rounds. During building work, Dennis and his wife Sylvia had to move temporarily to a different apartment within the palace.
The previous tenant of the apartment tended to report poltergeist type happenings.
Yeah.
I was very blasé about it and poo-pooed everything. Sylvia told me she felt uncomfortable.
Well, I did feel uncomfortable. I had this creepy, I always felt that my head was creeping. I was aware that there was definitely something in that room, no doubt about it.
They're back in their own apartment now, but Dennis still has mysterious experiences.
This is the doorway where I allegedly see things, allegedly to myself, that is. On 7 occasions I've seen, 7 or 8 occasions, the little lady I believe in blue, and each time it's a glance first of all, and on second glance she just goes very quickly into this wallway, this doorway, and then the wall behind it. On one occasion, this apparition in blue instead went very serenely and sedately into my hallway, and by the time she got to about here, I was running behind her saying, "Please stop, come back and speak to me." So very real was that feeling that there was something there.
We live in what was once an apartment occupied by Catherine of Aragon, and of course our lovely sitting room was actually used by Catherine as her presence chamber, where she met her official guests. Very interestingly, Our Lady in Blue was a member of court here for many years. Her name was Olwyn, spelled O-L-W-Y-N, and she was a lady in waiting to Catherine of Aragon.
I've got no fears at all in this palace, but one of the things I will not do, sitting on my own in this room, is have that door open like that. I couldn't sit with that door open like that. I have absolutely no idea why.
But all that seems tame compared with tales Ian has heard about the haunted gallery, where for centuries people claim to have heard shrieks and screams.
Well, this is the doorway that Catherine Howard is reputed to have knocked on when Henry VIII was actually in this room, and she had escaped from her guards and she was trying to communicate with the king, trying to tell him that they were about to take her away, presumably to the Tower, and it's supposedly her ghost being dragged away, the ear-piercing shrieks of terror as she was being dragged away from the king, from her last chance perhaps to communicate with the king before her execution. Henry didn't respond. The phenomenon of ghosts could well be a natural phenomenon that we don't completely understand. But as a historian, it's a great way of opening up the past. You talk about ghosts and it energises people. People are interested in talking to you when you talk about something exciting. And that can lead to memories of things that happened here in the past, and it has done. It's given me a lot of extra historical information about the palace, which I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been going around asking questions about the ghosts.